For as long as stories have existed, people have asked one important question. Yeah, but what if they kissed? Today, we're diving into the world of shipping. The good, the bad, and the absolutely unhinged. Hey everyone, and welcome to Dysfunctional with DY and Luna. My name is DY,
And my name is Luna.
and welcome to this absolutely unhinged episode of this podcast.
So we off camera, I guess you want to call it as that. We did some digging. We were going over our topics that we already have like pre-selected, I guess. And we looked at one of them. It was like, this is too big of its own thing to not talk about. So we're talking about shipping and the absolute insanity that comes with it, or as you put it in the intro, the good, the bad, and the absolutely unhinged. And honestly, that's the best way to describe this.
Yes.
To describe that. I kind of don't know where to start with this. Shipping has pretty much, as long as there has been characters in media, whether that's been movies, TV shows, books, whatever the case is, there has always been people that liked two characters in a particular piece of media, and they're like, cool, 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 cool. Side note, can they do some other stuff that's off camera?
Or
That's
preferably
like
on
the
camera,
nicest.
because why not?
Yeah, that's like the nice way to put it. But nobody really had a name for it until, once again, back to the drawing board. If you recall from our fandom episode, you will know that I very briefly talked about the inception of fandom culture and how it originated from female fans of the original Star Trek series in the 1960s. Shipping also originated from that same time frame, from that safe people. We love women in STEM. But
Yes,
yes,
absolutely.
essentially how it went down is, um, to paraphrase, because the time of which the show was airing in the 60s, the only real audience for the show at the time was housewives or just women at their homes because they couldn't do anything else because they had no rights. So they ended up growing a very popular female fan base, and said female fan base was like, hey, how come Captain Kirk and Spock have way better chemistry together than Kirk has with literally any other female love interest he gets every other week? And so
Can
they thought,
confirm.
yeah, so they're like, let's fix that. So, with the inception of things like fan fiction, thus shipping became a thing. I don't believe it wasn't coined as shipping until much later, but the concept of shipping two fictional characters that were not originally designed to that were not written to be together originated from that.
Yeah.
So, respect your elders, okay? Respect your elders when it comes to this. And as we were doing research for this, Spurk is still being written about over 50 years later. It is still one of the most popular ships that is written about on AO3, which I love to see. We love to see the old men still get it. We love to see them still get it. And of course, this is across multiple different versions of those characters. These come from the live action movies, these come from different other Star Trek series over the decades and things like that. These come from comics, these come from so much other stuff. It's not just the 1960 version. It's a whole slew of these characters across over half a century, which is crazy to think about, and it's
Hmm.
still talked about.
I wouldn't
Like,
even be
I
surprised if the writers started just doing it at this point. Make
I'd
people
be
happy.
like, yeah. Unfortunately, the bad thing when it comes to shipping is that the fans will take two pair characters that were never originally designed to be together, and the writers either love that or they hate it.
Yeah.
And sometimes they hate it so much to the point where they'll just say fuck you to the fans' faces in terms of we don't care about this shit because we think it's cringe or we don't like this particular ship or whatever
Stop
the case
being
is.
gay.
I mean, it's sad to put it, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing when it comes to shipping, especially in terms of like fan fiction and like non-canon ships, which we will go over. We have a select few that we want to talk about specifically and stuff that we have knowledge on. So, if we don't talk about your favorite ship, we probably just don't have time, and also we probably have never watched the show or movie or piece of media that they come from. It's not to say that the ship is bad, we just don't have time and we can't talk about everything.
But feel free
So,
to let us know about it in the comments.
yeah, feel free to let us know on some of your favorite ships and all that. But before we proceed to talk about some of those ships and the history of some of those ships, what was your first introduction to shipping or the concept of shipping? Whether this was a gay relationship or a straight relationship, what was the first instance of your like, no, I want to see these two kiss. I want to see these characters get together and just live happily, you know?
Officially, I'm going to say probably Lapidoth from Steven Universe, but like as a whole of like actually understanding what shipping would be, but it would probably be something earlier on in my like watching of TV shows and movies, but I couldn't pinpoint a certain thing. When I fully understood the concept of shipping, I would say it was Lapidoth.
Mhm. Mine was way, way earlier. In like I was not even like in double digits, I would say is when I started to understand the concept of shipping. Um, and I'm not including like Disney movies and stuff like that because obviously, very traditional, like a lot of Disney princess movies for the most part, the princess gets with the prince, like done no shit. But
Yeah.
in terms of like these characters were never meant to be together, but they had a lot of chemistry that I'm like, actually, why don't we make this a thing? Was a anime by the name of Bakugan, which was very popular in the West. They tried to remake it like a couple of times, and every time has failed. But the original 2007 dub forever lives in
please
my
tell it's
heart
please tell
as a
me it's
soft
not
spot.
between two robots or what the
No,
Bakugans.
it's no, 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 no. It's with the humans. It's with
Thank
the
you.
humans in that ship. Don't worry. Imagine. Imagine. Yeah, no. For those of you who don't know, I'm gonna give a brief summary as to what Bakugan was, in its original incarnation. Essentially, you had Pokemon that wasn't Pokemon. They basically came down to Earth from an alien dimension, and they had their own thoughts and feelings. They could speak English for some reason, and it was almost like a Pokemon knockoff, but like not really. It was its own thing, but it's very very Japanese, which is funny because it didn't do well in Japan. It did well, so well here in the West,
If
but it didn't do
Transformers
well.
and Pokemon had a child.
Yeah, essentially mixed in with Yu-Gi-Oh. Mixed in with Yu-Gi-Oh, I would say, is like the combination of how Bakugan operated.
Yeah.
Um, I would love to talk about Bakugan, a whole separate thing, because that's probably my first anime I've ever watched. That's one of the childhood shows that I remember my classmates all watching the same week. And whenever we came back on a Thursday or Tuesday or whatever the new episode came out, I was like, "Oh my god, guys, did you see that?" And they're like, "Yes." My first ever ship was Dan, who's the main character of that show, and Runo, who's got like teal, almost like a beta version of Hatsune Miku because she's got like teal pigtails. Like it's a very they were childhood friends as well. Like they've been friends since they were basically in diapers, and also
Yeah.
Runo's a tsundere. So it's a very classic like anime trope.
Yeah.
Which is funny because nowadays I look at that and I'm like, that's so juvenile. But also I was a child, so you gotta give me slack for that. That's not to say that I didn't have other ships within that show, and also there wasn't like I don't think I understood the concept of a queer relationship in media until like much later in life.
Mhm.
That was my first instance that wasn't like again, Disney movies and other things like that where characters are designed to be together, like they're written to be together, that's something different.
But if you're
For
taking
shipping, of
Tiana
course.
and Charlotte, then that's shipping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which honestly, I could see it, but given the
I
time
feel
frame, I
like
don't
they.
think it would have
I
happened.
mean, he
Yeah,
was he was a frog for half the movie, so I feel like Charlotte and
that is
Tiana had more chemistry.
true. Yeah, yeah. But also just Naveen was a jerk in like a good chunk of that movie, but that's because that's character development.
Yeah.
Tiana changed him for the better. But yeah, I would say my first instance of gay shipping was probably the MCU. And people were shipping pretty much all the main Avengers with each other, which we'll get to later, don't you worry. But that was probably the first instance of me being like, "Oh, people like other characters that not only are the same sex, but also would not realistically, in the context of this piece of media, would actually get together."
Yeah.
But that's your imagination. Insert SpongeBob gif here. But yes, that was probably my first instance of like that's what, you know, queer. Not like the six of them all together. I'm just saying they're being shipped like simultaneously together.
Yeah.
Like there's one character with one and then that same like if character A is paired with character B, then character A is also paired up with character C. That
Hmm.
kind of stuff. So, it's not necessarily like, oh, they were all in like a polycule together. No,
That would be
like
kind of funny though.
none of them would get along as a polycule, though. That's the thing. I feel like that would be so chaotic in like the worst.
Natasha would be the butch queen that smacks all of them into submission.
Yeah. As if she doesn't do that already. We love Natasha. At least I wish she got better treatment. We wish she got better treatment in the MCU. Oh my god.
Yeah.
We wish.
That's for
Um,
another time though.
yeah, that's for a whole other time. But we do have a list here, and we do want to go through them. Do we want to
Hmm.
go in like a particular? I know we wrote them down in a specific way, but do we have any specific mentions as to
I
some
mean,
of them?
we could just go in the order we have. It's probably easier that way.
Okay.
Keep our
So
brains
we
on
did,
track.
yeah, we did divide these. Again, this is not every ship that we know of and that exists. Most of these we either have a good enough knowledge on that like makes sense, or stuff that's like so culturally significant that I feel like we have to talk about it even if we don't know, even if one of us doesn't know the whole extent of it.
Yeah.
Uh, but first of all, we have headcanon ships. This is basically your standard bread and butter of people in the original context were never planned to be together, never hinted at being together, but the fans were like too fucking bad. We're gonna smash them together like Barbie dolls, and we're gonna do whatever we want with them.
Exactly.
Well, you go ahead. These two ships are plainly for you. Mostly for you. And I'm also gonna make this perfectly clear before we actually say anything. Please don't have any shipping wars. I'm a multi-shipper. I don't care who shared up with who. As long as I get cool fan art and good fan fiction, I couldn't care less. Okay? I just want good content. So if for whatever reason we say a ship and you're like, well, I think character A should have been with character D instead. We're not about that. We're just here to have fun, and we're here to have fun with our imaginary Barbie dolls. Okay,
This is
like
the
this
love
this
of the
that,
game. Not we're not
yeah.
serious about any of this.
No, especially with some of the later ones we actually have to talk about that involve real life people, especially, which we'll get to later.
Hmm.
Just know that we're here for fun. We are not saying one ship is superior to any other ones with the same character. These are just ones that stand out to us that we have personal connection with or whatever the case is. So, don't have any stand wars in the comments, please. We don't want that. We're just here for the as DY said, we're here for the love of the game.
Yeah.
We're here because we find this fun. And that's what shipping is. Shipping is just another way to express your admiration and love for characters in your favorite piece of media, you know?
Hmm.
Go ahead.
Our
Just
first
have the
ship,
podium.
well, technically second because we talked about Spurk, but we didn't go into detail with it.
Spurk is our granddads in terms of shipping, but yes, we've
Yeah.
already talked about them extensively already.
Um, our next ship, originally coined as McHanzo, and then later changed because the person that Cassidy was originally named after ended up being a horrible person, so it ended up being changed to Yihan. I'm pretty sure this ship has existed since the beginning of Overwatch.
Yeah, yeah. I remember people shipping McHanzo when it was called that, but even as a teenager, I was like, and again, I understand that shipping has no bounds, and we'll probably briefly mention some later. But like, there's also shipping of characters that aren't even from the same canon universe, that are from different movies or different TV shows that will never realistically interact. But even as a teenager, I was like, really? Is it just because these guys are just like, even as a teenager, I was like, I they barely have any interaction in canon lore of the story. Which, to be fair, not that Overwatch at the beginning had any much story to begin with,
Yeah.
but to me, in my teenager brain, I was just like, you guys are just pushing them together because they're two men who are like semi-conventionally attractive.
Hmm.
Give me
Yep.
more substance than that.
Yeah.
That's like that's how it was when I first saw it. And to be clear, this is mostly DY's ship. I'm indifferent towards it. I don't hate it, but I also am just like I'm not actively seeking it out.
Hmm.
I'm pretty indifferent towards it. But I let DY speak its truth, so it makes him happy. So
um, I don't remember why specifically I like it, but it's probably just the fact that it's two men being together. But uh I I don't know if this is confirmed or not because I haven't read the last few of the webtoon, but the first time they've ever actually interacted, I think, has been in the webtoon ever in
Mhm.
the lore. I don't know if that's true or not because, like I said, I haven't read it yet, but
Yeah.
people were talking about it. Uh, but I don't know. It's just I don't really have a reason why specifically I like it, but I feel like some of the devs also know about it because during the Lover Watch event, there were two Pachimaris, one of Hanzo and one of Cassidy, sitting next to each other. So I don't know.
Well, I guarantee you the devs probably know about the shipping discourse. Like, there I know that there is.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of the team knows about it. I don't know if like Aaron Keller knows about it. Maybe some of the writers that previously worked on Overwatch, back when it was, manhandled by Activision.
Mhm.
But they some of them definitely do. I
Yeah. They
guarantee it.
have to.
Yeah.
Uh
It's again, I don't think Aaron's ever going to
he might.
acknowledge
I
it,
feel
and
like
if it is, it's gonna be something in non-canon.
he definitely knows about it, but he's not gonna like seek it out.
Yeah, yeah. He's probably seen some, like, really good fan art, and that's
Mhm.
probably about it, and honestly, sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
As long as,
Um
like, as
but I feel personally I feel like a reason I like it is because if you look at Cassidy's character, he's way too friendly to other people in a way. And he's like he it feels like he's almost flirting a lot. If anything, I feel like Cassidy is headcanon bisexual.
that's a trend that I've seen a lot. A lot of times with characters, or specifically men that are like overtly flirty or like have a history of being a player, they're always headcanon to be bisexual.
Yeah.
Always. Steve from Stranger Things, I'm surprised we haven't put Steady on here. I'm gonna be totally honest. So we're definitely talking about that. And like Dean Winchester. Dean Winchester, which don't worry, we will be talking about SDL. But that's like a constant headcanon or trend I see whenever a man is like in fiction, a man is like overtly flirty with buddy, everyone's just like, that's a bisexual man. Always.
I
That's like
mean, we
a
can.
common trend I see.
Luna and I have even talked about this, but the new hero, Emre, he's overtly flirty with everyone as a choice
Yeah.
by Overwatch. So,
I mean, the man wears eyeliner. I don't know what to tell you about that
yeah.
one.
And there's even a spray about it now. So,
Yeah. I know they probably made that spray because it was funny, but, like, I also like to headcanon that even though he's canonically in his 40s, man still puts on eyeliner like every other person at a My Chemical
yeah,
concert, and I love that.
he's living his best life, and that's all that matters.
Well, trying to live his best life. He's still, brainwashed by a Finnish AI, but that's besides the point. It's probably one of the more popular ships to come from Overwatch, I would say, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
Speaking of speaking of
Speaking
the other
of,
one,
is this gonna? Yeah, I mean that works. Next is Reaper 76. Once again, don't know why I ship this, but I feel like it's the fact that people like Old Man Yowie.
I mean, yeah, it's probably just because of Old Man Yowie.
Mm-hmm.
The only real definitive backup for this is that Soldier 76 is canonically gay. Blizzard has outright said that he had a partner who died in his youth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess a lot of people just from the interactions that Reaper and Soldier canonically do have in the lore, that it just seems like old married couple are like bitter exes. Like after 76's like past partner died, he like rebounded with Reaper and it just like didn't work out.
Yeah.
Once again, that was another one that I vaguely had knowledge of when the game first came out, but it was definitely like not as big of a ship. I think
I
nowadays
feel
it's
like
more prevalent. There's more lore with it.
it's definitely not as big as Yeehaw,
Mhm.
but I feel like it's prevalent enough that people know about it. But I feel like the reason it exists is because Soldier used to be a high-ranking officer in Overwatch under Sojourn in his youth, and Reaper was another high-ranking soldier. And I feel like there could be some bad blood there, and once again, just Old Man Yowie.
The internet craves for Old Man Yowie. Before we move on to, because this is just the Overwatch ones, I'll briefly mention some other news that have come up in the past few years. Mizuki and Wu Yang, a lot of people tend to ship, but once again, I think this is just young, attractive looking men pushed together because the internet said so. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think there's any merit to it. There's no confirmation of Wu Yang being gay in any way, shape, or form, and anything that the community is using to describe him doesn't mean anything. It doesn't correlate to anything,
No.
which is fair. That's not wrong. But to the point where people are getting mad that Wu Yang was hinted to have a crush on Juno in said webtoon we previously mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
when Mizuki's nowhere to be seen because he's not prevalent in that story, at least not yet that we know of.
He's
People
currently
were
in
making,
Japan fighting
yeah,
the clan.
fighting for his life. Yeah. Um, but yeah, like people were mad that, oh, he might have a crush on a woman. Meanwhile, to my knowledge, Juno's like oblivious to it because she's like from Mars and she doesn't understand that kind of stuff because that's never been a thing for
Bisexuality
her.
and pansexuality exist, people.
Yeah. And again, like there's no it's not like Blizzard is like confirming or deconfirming that he's gay or not. That nobody in Overwatch, unless stated otherwise, has a canonical sexuality. But
Yeah.
people were mad that Blizzard semi hinted at a straight relationship and the fans got mad. And
Mm-hmm.
we're like, you can still have your ship, guys. That ship is still valid and it's still there. And plus, we don't even know if this ship between Wu Yang and Juno is even going to be a thing. It could just be a one-sided crush and it never goes anywhere,
It could have also just been a thing that people mistook for a crush.
or something like that. The webcomic's not finished, so we don't know where the story's going. But
Yeah.
people were not happy about it. But I think everyone was having a temper tantrum over nothing.
Well, people
Like,
also have had a temper tantrum because they haven't revealed anyone new to be LGBTQ.
yeah,
So there's always
yeah,
going to be complainers out there about things.
yeah. You're never gonna make anybody happy with any of the shippers in general. So, but that's to be expected, and I think Blizzard knows that.
That's fandom
Um,
culture.
that yeah, that's just how fandom works. Unfortunately, we're gonna turn away from video games to now movies and TV shows. We previously talked about Marvel. We're bringing that back around to Stony and Stucky, which I feel like is the two most prevalent ones in the MCU. And that's a big major preference. This is the MCU version of these ships. Because these characters, especially Captain America, have been around for decades. Tony Stark as a character has been around for decades, and Bucky Barnes has been a character for decades in the original iteration of the Captain America comics, Bucky was not seen as he was like a sidekick, essentially. To boil it down, he was essentially a sidekick. He was like like a mermaid man and barnacle boy from SpongeBob. He was basically a barnacle boy. And then they took his character, they retooled him, and then they made him into the today. Obviously, the MCU takes a lot from the comics. Some are lifted straight out from the comics. And when discussing Stucky specifically, it has to be discern that this is the movie version and not the comic version because the comic version is way way more problematic if you actually ship it like that. There's a massive age gap, and also Bucky sees Cap or Steve, I guess, in those version of the comics as like a parental figure or like a father figure. So
Just
that's
like
not cool.
just like Batman
You
and
know,
Robin.
yeah, exactly. So whenever talking about that, you have to discern that it's the movie version, and that's the one we're talking about now. This is between Chris Evans's portrayal of Steve Rogers and Sebastian Stan's portrayal of Bucky Barnes. That's who we're talking about. Same
Yeah.
thing with Stony. This is Chris Evans' portrayal of Captain America, Steve Rogers, and Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Tony Stark. Obviously, Stoney's been around a little bit longer because obviously they have more screen time together. And
They even went through a
but
whole breakup.
yeah, that's the whole point of Civil War. The way that the movies made it look like, at least, Steve and Bucky have been friends for who knows how long. They've been friends since like forever. Obviously, like the first Captain America movie happens. It happens the same way.
Yeah.
Cap then gets unfrozen. Nick Fury is like, "Hey, yo, want to join a team?" And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about, but also sure." And then Avengers happens.
Yes.
But the whole reason why Civil War happens to begin with is because after Bucky gets like essentially escaped from Hydra, he's put into hiding. Um Steve's like, okay, now that he's like out of the clutches or whatever, and he's like not fully mind controlled, I want to show that to my teammates to show that he's actually kind of a good guy. And then it's like, maybe not home dog slice because that man murdered Tony's parents unknowingly, but he murdered his parents. And Tony's not too happy about that, understandably. So the whole reason why they fight on that tarmac is to debate whether Bucky is actually like sane of mind during anything that happened when he was the Winter Soldier. Obviously, there's more nuance to it. I'm 100% simplifying that movie, but that's like if you look at it in a shipping fandom perspective, that's what's happening.
Exactly.
Steve goes ahead and brings his ex-boyfriend to his friend group and his like coworkers. He's like, "Hey guys, meet him," and they're like, "No, he did a bad thing, and we don't like that." And then the
Hmm.
band breaks up.
Yeah.
But also, Tony and Steve separately, when it comes to the MCU, is shipped with like so many people. They get around. Tony makes sense. Tony is notoriously been a fuckboy up until like Iron Man 1, right?
Yeah.
He's fucked around and find out with so many people. I have no doubt in my mind that he's experimented on. Like experimented in terms of like what he was doing in his like college years. But like Stevie Boy, guarantee you for the longest time he didn't know that was legal until he came to the 21st century.
Hmm.
And they were like teaching him all this stuff. They're like, "No, it's legal now.
When
Don't worry, Steve."
whenever he went on ice, it wasn't legal, or it
No.
wasn't as prevalent as it was when he was unfrozen.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But that's another, like, once again, this is a kind of instance where I have no preference on which one works the best. I just think whatever fan art is cool. Like, this is the best part of being a multi-shipper like this. I can be like, well, I kind of feeling Stucky this day, but then I kind of feel, Stony this day. Or maybe I want Sam Bucky, or maybe I want Sam Steve, or whatever the case is. Like it
Yeah.
it works beautifully like that. Um, I understand why people would ship Stucky. Is it just because, like, Tony's got, like, tension with Steve, and it's just because, like, Tony is so fucking carefree all the time, and is like, "I can do whatever I want, I'm a goddamn billionaire." And Steve's like, "No, we stick to the rules, and also we, like, say no to authority or whatever,
I think
even though
it's
we
I
are the
think
authority."
it's I think it's a Batman Joker kind of thing.
Mm,
Tony
but
Tony's
not a
Tony's the
yeah.
not obviously not as insane as the Joker, but Tony's more Joker, and then Steve is Batman once again.
Mm, yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I can see. And even then, people ship Batman and Joker. At least certain iterations, not all of them, but some people do ship certain iterations of Joker
Hmm.
and Batman, so that
Actually, in
I
recent
can
media,
see it.
they've been kind of making that more prevalent. I
My first, yeah.
think in the Harley Quinn show there was a it wasn't like official, but it was definitely a thing that
Mhm.
happened.
Yeah. My first instance of that was the Lego Batman movie from 20, where they constantly made jokes of like, "You're my nemesis, and
Yeah.
I don't care about anybody else. You're my nemesis." But it's clearly supposed to be written as like something else, and that's a fun little tongue-in-cheek joke about that. I really like the
Hmm.
way they did that.
I mean, even the Arkham
Um,
games.
yeah, yeah, even so. But I feel like I feel like out of the two that at least we've mentioned, Stucky has more prevalence. Like everybody will be like, you wouldn't just do that for your homie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You would, but also you wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like there's like some people would say that I don't know.
it's not gay to
I
kiss the
just
homies.
it's not if you're wearing socks. But considering that Heated Rivalry was based off of a Stucky AU fanfiction, I think it's safe to say that Stucky's the one that is more prolific in terms of what's in the public eye.
Hmm.
That being said, though, having a three-way with Steve, Bucky, and Sam, I'm just saying, guys, you can make it work. Super Soldier Falcon or something like that. I don't know. You can make do with it.
Yeah.
Are we going to? Yeah.
No.
Okay. No. No. Okay. Um, like I said, I don't really have a preference on out of these two in particular.
Hmm.
Because because again, these actors are so charismatic. And again, RDJ is just hamming it up whenever he plays Tony. So he just oozes charisma when
Yeah.
playing as Tony. So his dynamic with Steve's more hard ass approach is it's fun to watch. It's a fun dynamic for
Hmm.
sure. And again, Steve knew his dad, and he's like, "Man, you really are just like a carbon copy of your dad, aren't you?" So that's also kind of funny in that sense.
Yeah.
Continuing though on the Marvel trend, uh, we have Charles
Once
Xavier
again,
and
once
Eric,
again,
aka Magneto.
once again,
Mhm.
old man Yowie.
Old man Yowie. I'm more attributing to this to once again the Fox movies, the 20th Century Fox movies. It also helps that Sir Ian McKellen himself is a gay man and has been out for like 20 years.
Hmm.
So he's been out and proud for a very long time. So obviously there's a little added like extra of did he mean to put that in his performance or what's the deal on that? And honestly, I like to think maybe because he's also like acted across Sir Patrick Stewart, multiple other times like in the past as well. They're both like Shakespearean actors and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'd have no doubt. I would have no doubt in my mind if McKellen went ahead and like put a bit of his flair, I guess, when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to his portrayal of Magneto. And if you want to go even further than that, if we want to do the quote unquote prequel movies where you have James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender as Charles and Eric respectively, that's an extra layer of there's more knowledge and more chemistry. We get the backstory for that. And again, the multiple years of the comics that I don't even think we need to touch on because that's plain and simple there for you. Like
Yeah.
like if the X-Men is already an allegory for any and every marginalized group of people, you can make a fair assumption here. Also, a good chunk of the X-Men themselves are canonically queer. Like
Yeah.
a good chunk of them are canonically gay. So it wouldn't be that bad of an assumption to think that. I'm just saying.
I
Um,
like to say that it's canon.
it's basically like unconfirmed, confirmed canon. Like
The chemistry is you can definitely see the chemistry.
yeah, like yeah, the amount of jokes people have made on just like their interactions from the movies alone of like, oh my god, go talk to your ex-husband for fuck's sake,
Mm-hmm.
is absolutely insane, and I love every second of it. It works. It just works too well. It just works too well. It's like coworkers to lovers to exes, and then add old man Yowie into it, and then it's like it's too good of a recipe to not like.
Yeah.
Maybe we're wrong. Maybe there's a version in the actually were canonically a couple. Feel free to let us know. Uh, if if maybe we're doing our fact checking wrong, but I don't from my knowledge, it didn't seem like that. But feel free to correct us though. Maybe there's like a comic issue we're unaware of that says otherwise.
When it comes to comics, we're very casual fans of the comics. We don't know
Casual
a
if not
lot.
limited, yeah. Yeah, casual if not limited.
Yeah.
Um but turning over from Marvel to DC though, we have Superbat, aka Superman and Batman. This is another one that I remember vague, like, sprinklings of throughout the 2010s, especially. Um, and it's mostly, I'm gonna say this, more often than not, it's always the animated ones that get the super bat treatment. Most of the live action ones, with the exception of Robert Pattinson's Batman and David Cornsweet's Superman, those are the only two live action that I know are actively shipped. Is the
Yeah.
most two recent actors who played them.
I can kind of see that though.
I do too. Honestly, I can like kind of fuck with it because it's the golden retriever boyfriend and like the black cat girlfriend, but it's
Yeah.
super edgy.
Mm-hmm.
It's that dynamic. um, but more often than not, when I see Superbat, it's mostly in animated form or it's from the games or like one of the games.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like that. Mostly because it's the crossover aspect, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, but again, I see it. It's the classic golden retriever black cat dynamic. Grumpy and sunshine. It's like you know,
Mm-hmm. Which is a very
Superman. Like
popular trope in shipping. So,
yeah, it's a good dynamic. You have Clark, who's super like I have such good inhumanity. I want to do right by the people. Meanwhile, Bruce is over here being like, I don't care. I just want to sit in my bat cave and be super fucking edgy because my parents died.
don't talk
Meanwhile,
to me.
Clark's like, my parents also died. Like, you ain't special with that.
Yeah.
Next is a ship I vaguely know of, but have no context for. This is Swan Queen, our first sapphic ship that we're actually talking about. This is between the Evil Queen and Emma Swan from Once Upon a Time.
And
I have
Regina
not seen this
Mills.
show. Regina Mills is her like regular quote unquote human name. I've only seen clips of Once Upon a Time. I've never seen episode, but DY has watched the whole series. So you have more insight on this than I do.
I feel like it's mainly just two moms because the whole premise of the show is Emma Swan puts her son up for adoption because she realized she wasn't ready to be a mother. Henry ends up with Regina as his adopted mom, and eventually Henry goes out to find Emma and bring her back because lo and behold, Regina is actually a fairy tale villain from Snow White. It's 100% enemies to lovers,
Mm-hmm.
which Luna absolutely loves.
I know, no. If it's executed well, I like it. Any other time, I despising because
Yeah.
in real life, I could have potentially had an enemies to lovers if the guy in this like in this like potential like what if scenario was a decent good person, but he wasn't. He was a fucking asshole. I just ended up with a way better life, and I like you would think like an enemies to lovers is like I don't know how to express my feelings, so I'm just gonna like bully you. No, this guy just straight up just bullied me
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of doing it, for the love of the game. It wasn't. And if that was the case, if it was like, oh, I don't know how to express my feelings, so I bullied you because I like you, that doesn't. No,
That's
if
cringe.
that's how you treat me when you like me, what happens when you don't actually like me? Like, there's implications that I just don't like. If it's executed well in fiction, then I'm willing to bypass it. If the connection feels believable in the writing, then I'm able to bypass that.
Yeah.
But if it's anything close to what I experienced or could have experienced in real life, then it's an immediate turn off. Like,
Yeah.
no. Like,
Um, but yeah, Swan Queen is two mothers who fall in love, I guess. It's just enemies to lovers because the whole thing with Emma was, well, Regina was the villain because she enslaved an entire town, and Emma changed her. So, yeah.
yeah. I mean, there is basis though for this though, because if they technically parent the same child, then like they're you could make an argument it's like divorced parents
Yeah.
as like the dynamic, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. It kind of works. They're two women who both have a son, so why not? If we ignore all their other male love interests, we don't care about them. um, but I do want to be a nerd real quick and mention something because um for fun fact, the word sapphic and lesbians comes from an ancient Greek poet named Sappho who lived on the island of Lesbos. So you can see where that came from.
Let's turn away a little bit to some animated because we got to keep this ball rolling because we have a lot to talk about. We have Radio Static and Husker Dust from Has Hotel. Um, I showed DY what Has Hotel is. We will do Hell of a Boss. We're just kind of we're waiting to finish another TV show, and then we'll probably do that later. Um, but this is probably like there's so much shipping involved with Has Been. There's so much of it because Vibsy Pop was a Tumblr teenager. She was on Tumblr constantly, and so a lot of her characters are just Tumblr sexy men,
Mm-hmm.
which you can see in the character design.
Yeah.
Um, there, and I'm saying this, pretty much there's barely any straight characters in Has Been Hotel. There is barely any straight characters. So you can just assume everyone's bisexual until stated otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
um, which they have said like they've explicitly said what everyone's sexuality is, so that's not like too much of a prevalent issue.
Everyone is queer
But
in that show, no matter what.
yeah. Um, but for Radio Static, this is Alistair and Vox, aka Radio killed the radio star. Is essentially what it is. It
Yep.
is. It's explained in season 2. Um, but essentially, when Alistair went down to hell, he like made a name for himself due to a contract. And when Vox went to hell, he really admired Alistair and was like, "Hey, I want." And then Alistair was like, "Lamau, you think that's gonna fucking work? You're so have you lost your signal to your fucking TV head?" Yeah, nah, that ain't fucking happening. Nice try, bozo. You thought we were gonna nah, fam.
Get away from me.
it Vox is canonically bisexual, and then Alistair is canonically asexual. A lot of people tend to headcanon him as Arrow as well, aromantic.
Mm,
But he's mostly just he's just asexual under that umbrella term. But during that scene, it's heavily implied that Fox was supposed to be not only asking in partnership in terms of just working together to work like in hell together, but also potentially, a romantic relationship. And I was just like, Lamau, I don't have any interest in that. Fuck you. But
yeah.
not like that. We're gonna get into
Hmm.
that.
Which is great.
um, yeah. Again, it's basically an enemies to lovers, but this time it actually works
Hmm.
because they have backstory that makes sense as to why they hate each other so much.
Yeah,
Fox has a lot of repressed emotions he still feels for Alistair, and Alistair just physically cannot reciprocate because he just doesn't feel any emotions like that.
exactly.
And that's
Plus, he doesn't seem he's only there for global power. He does not give a shit about relationships.
no. Now, obviously, Alistair shipped with a few other people in this show. He's also shipped with Lucifer from Has Been. It's mostly because of the fifth episode of season one, where he's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm so much better because you're a deadbeat dad, and I see Charlie as my daughter." I don't see it. It's mostly just he's getting under Lucifer's skin. That's all that it is. I don't see it as romantic tension at all.
No. Alistair's just there to mock Lucifer.
Yeah, not
I
really
don't really
much to
see
that.
the relationship.
No, I don't either. Alistair's also shipped with Angel Dust. This one I think is Radio Spider, I think is the name of the ship. Um again,
That doesn't make
I
any
I
sense to
see,
me.
I see it, but I also don't. The fan art's cute, don't get me wrong. And even though Viv said it was okay for him to be shipped with whatever, because again, it's just playing with Barbie dolls, but the fandom can't handle what it's like to have an asexual character in the fandom. Because he's like, well, in a technicality, and we're like, if Viv
Hmm.
said it's fine, then it's fine as long as you're respectful of it. Like
Yeah,
we can do that.
yeah.
I also personally don't see it, but I'm not gonna stop people from saying like that's a bad ship. I'm not gonna stop them. Again, the fan art's cute, so I'm not gonna complain.
Hmm.
But the main one with Angel Dust that everyone more often than not is like this is the one is Husker Dust, which is Husk and Angel Dust. Um yeah, this is probably the one that Viv is actively hinting at. Husk is canonically pan, and Angel is canonically gay. So, there's definitely compatibility there just by that alone. But
Hmm.
they literally have a song together in season two, or season one, sorry, it's Loser Baby. And then in the background, you can see in Husk's song Love in a Bottle he's actively drinking his days away because he is like nervous and doesn't want to think about his relationship with Angel and a few other things that were happening throughout that season. And then later in that scene, we see Angel as in a side gig, um, and they basically have a heart to heart moment and they reconnect because they had a fight like early on, like in that
Yeah.
episode.
Hmm.
And it's just too obvious that it's very clear that Viv is shipping. It's just too obvious that it's very clear that it's supposed to be, you know, it's the grumpy sunshine with an asterisk. Next up is your ship, Lapidot, aka Lapis and Peridot from Steven Universe.
Yes.
Uh, I have seen Steven Universe and I've seen episodes, but I've never watched the full show. I've seen bits and pieces from the movie, and same thing with I've seen bits and pieces, but I've never seen everything.
Yeah.
But I do know about this, and I do know who these characters are, and I do know enough about their personalities
Mhm.
to be for me to be like, no, I see it. I see why people ship this. But you
Yeah.
obviously have more knowledge because you know this series like back to front. So go ahead and take the podium.
If I'm being honest, personally, I don't entirely see it,
Hmm.
but once again, I'm pretty sure it's one of the sunshine and darkness ships because
Hmm.
Lapis has depression from her time on Homeworld, and then Paradox just like, "Hi Lapis, how are you doing?" You know, it's kind of it's one of those again, but
Hmm.
I feel like it was
Yeah.
more it wasn't really prevalent in the beginning when they were both first introduced, but I feel like later on in in the seasons because they ended up actually living together. I feel like that's where it started to spiral
Hmm.
into
Yeah.
something bigger. But like
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but I personally I don't entirely understand why it's a ship. It didn't really have any chemistry at all, and it's I feel like it's more of a friendship thing, at least
Mm.
in Lapis's eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like maybe Peridot doesn't have a
Yeah, it's
yeah.
opposites attract.
Mm.
That's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, it's kind of cute when you think about it because
Yeah.
they're both ex uh I'm not gonna say I get war criminals isn't the correct. I mean technically they're war criminals because
Aren't
they
all the gems by definition war criminals though? Like if you
yeah,
really look at
the
it.
crystal gems for sure, but Lapis and Peridot never actively fought against Homeworld until they started hanging out with the crystal gems. So, yes,
Mhm.
but no.
Um, but again, moving forward, not entirely ship, but maybe not enough footing or not enough like on screen like together for them to really
Yeah,
warrant that.
yeah. Like, don't get me
All right.
wrong, I love it, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really make sense.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's more of, like I said, a friendship thing.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least in Lapis's eyes.
I don't know. I feel like Paradox could be misreading some stuff.
People like to headcanon her as asexual because she doesn't like to
I do
fuse.
too. Yeah, I do too. I like to headcanon her as ace. So, I mean,
Yeah.
and again, if fusion is a euphemism for that, then that kind of makes sense as to why, that's like an explanation for that. Next is
Next, we're going into
Winclair.
Winclair, which is another opposites attract.
Yeah. Um, Winclair is Wednesday and
Enid
fucking Enid. Thank you.
from
From the
specifically
Wednesday
from the
Netflix.
Wednesday Netflix show.
Well, Enid doesn't exist in any other version of the Addams
Well,
family, so it's supposed.
I figured I'd
Yeah.
clarify.
Yeah. Yeah, just in case. But yeah, it's from the Netflix show. Um, I've always headcanoned Wednesday as Ace, especially in the live action films. I know she had a thing with Joel in the second movie, Adam's Family Values, but I feel like that was just a stint. That was just like a happenstance,
Yeah.
you know? I feel
Yeah.
like maybe if they made a third movie, that might have worked with that maybe, but seemingly it was just kind of there.
She's like
Um,
Alistair.
yeah.
She's
She's
only
not too
there for
focused
the
on
love of the game.
that. Mhm. Yeah, and going back to the actual, like, Wednesday show, Jenna Ortega has said that when she was doing the love triangle bullshit in season 1, it didn't feel like Wednesday, and she's right. Wednesday would not entertain any of these fucking guys that she was like paired up with in season 1 like at all.
No.
Like if we're staying true to like Adam's family in the way that they've been like historically portrayed, she wouldn't even bat a fucking glance. I know the musical of Wednesday or like the musical interpretation of Wednesdays otherwise. It's literally the definition of that meme. It's like, you're not good enough for my daughter, and I don't want you dating her. End of story. And then cut to the love interest, and he's like, so why don't you give me one more? Like, it's basically that meme.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
basically the entire plot of the Addams Family musical.
Yep.
Good show, by the way. Would recommend. I don't see her with either of the guys she was like. I just didn't. I just felt like it was entirely unnecessary, and I'm glad they severely cut it down for season 2 because they realized like, oh yeah, this is not really a thing.
Yeah.
Get why people ship them like her with Enid, but at the same time, I also still see Wednesday as asexual, and
Yeah.
she's just like it's not. I don't know. Once again, if we're portraying, it's almost a tsundere kind of thing, kind of, if you want to look at it like that. So again, if Wednesday treats Enid like that when she likes her, imagine when she like fucking hates her. She's already threatened to kill her like multiple times in that
Mm-hmm.
show.
Yeah.
Like, I understand the opposites attract. It's the sunshine grumpy, it's the sunshine rain cloud and whatever. I don't hate it, but I'm also
It's a
like
Lapidoth
it,
situation. It makes sense in some aspects, but it also doesn't make sense.
yeah. Like I'm not actively watching the show for this ship, but also it's the best ship to come from that show. So it's like a lesser of two evils. Like
Theoretically,
I'd
it
rather
makes
her
more
be
sense than her with any of the male characters she was shipped with.
yeah, or like attempted to ship with, yeah. Moving on though, again, we gotta kind of keep this rolling. Um, this is a good example of shipping being fun and people just having a good time with it. This
Yes.
next ship we're talking about is Bloody Mary, which is the ship name of Simon, aka Markiplier in Iron Lung, and Rylan Grace, aka Ryan Gosling in Project Hail Mary. I love this ship. I love cross shipping like this. It is so fun. This
Yes.
is again the golden retriever boyfriend with the grumpy like black cat partner, but it works really well. And Mark knows about it. Mark went on a live stream like as of recording this. He went on a live stream not that long ago and he fully was like, "Nah, dude, I know about it and I'm chill with it." Who doesn't want to be wrapped in the arms of Ryan Gosling? Which
You
like
think
fair.
I don't see everything on the internet?
That man's been on the internet for like 15 plus years. He knows his way around.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really and again, Mark's always been really with one exception, he's been pretty chill when it comes to things like that, and I'm really happy about that. Because again, you would like and I've never read or seen Project Hail Mary yet, but I do know the basics when it comes to Simon in Iron Lung. Simon in that movie is an ex-convict, and the reason why he's put on that submarine is because it's an experiment done by the government, basically, to be like, if you want a redemption to not be a convict, go ahead and do this dangerous mission, and if you don't die, you're freed.
Yep.
Essentially, that's like essentially what it is. So people were just like, look, Simon's in a sub for like who knows how long in entire isolation and basically lost his mind and is just like an absolute madman in terms of like everything in his surroundings. Meanwhile, Grace is over here being like, I get to talk with a sentient rock, a
Yep.
rock alien. And we love him. We love Rocky. But um it's definitely because they made a meme about it. He's not an astronaut, so he doesn't know how space
He's a science
works.
teacher.
He's just a fucking science teacher. That's the equivalent of taking your high school science teacher, sticking them at a NASA like ship. That's
Yeah.
essentially what happens. But then again, Simon's also just a random like ex-convict. He's also not anything super special, and he has to learn how to pilot the fucking submarine on his own terms, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it. I don't know. I just feel like it works. I feel like the dynamic of this, if they were to actually be in the same movie, I feel like it weirdly works.
They're
I
the
don't know how to
same.
explain
They're
it,
the
but
same, but all with different personalities.
yeah, it's a similar circumstance, different outcome. And I think that really helps with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next, going back to the animated ones, um, anybody who was on Tumblr during this time knows what we're talking about next. We're talking about Clance, aka Keith and Lance from Voltron, specifically the DreamWorks animated show that's on Netflix.
Yes.
Voltron Legendary Defenders. I have
Hmm.
only seen the show up to season 2, and I never finished it. Not because the show was bad, but because ADHD sucks. You have seen this entire thing in its you have seen the show in its entirety.
Yeah.
So go ahead and educate the youths as to what the ship was, because the ship in its peak was ravenous. And I remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh boy. Yeah. So, uh, they were two people on a space base or whatever. Probably had nothing to do with each other. Um, but it's once again one of those enemies to lovers slash happy sunshine dark cloud personality thing. Because Lance is very happy go lucky. Keith does not give a shit about anything.
No, Keith is our resident edge lord. Keith is 100% our resident edge lord.
Yeah.
Um, even down to the fact he's got black hair and he pilots the Red Lion. Like,
Hmm.
you can't be more edgy than that.
Yeah. Um, it's more so like a one-sided rivalry in the beginning, and then they end up actually being friends. But I feel like people took that to a whole nother level with it being them in love.
I don't know if it was necessarily Netflix or maybe if it was DreamWorks, but this is another instance of potential queer baiting
Yeah.
because there would be times where they had posts about it online or they had thumbnails for episodes and it had nothing to do with it, and
Hmm.
people were are rightfully so pissed on that. That being said, very notoriously, the people who were fans of the show when it was airing at the time sent muffins to the writers filled with razor blades
Yep.
and things of that nature. Don't do that. Do not do that. That is completely unhinged in the worst way possible. Do not harass the creatives, because even because again, there might be times where they want to make a ship a thing, but they physically can't because the network won't let them. And this is the best way they can do it. You
Hmm.
can never assume that the writers are like, we're gonna like promptly dangle queer bait.
Yeah.
Um,
Do not
we
harass
can't
anyone
assume.
over something not happening. It's not entirely always their fault.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. It
And
always
based on
depends
how
who's at the.
based on how DreamWorks rolls, I feel like they would have been okay with it, but the executives were definitely had
I
a
think the
part
higher ups
in
at like
some of it.
Universal. Yeah, either the higher ups at like Universal or maybe Netflix were like, no, we can't have that.
Our next one is actually a really popular ship again, which is Polytrix, which is Rumi, Mira, and Zoe from K-pop Demon Hunters. Personally, I really like this one. I think it's
I
cute.
do too. I know there's a lot of people on Tumblr that ship Mira and just like Mira and Zoe together. I personally see it as a three way.
Yeah. I can
Double
definitely
points
I
of
can
Celine.
definitely see Mira as bisexual.
I
If
see
we
Zoe as Pan. I
Yeah.
see Zoe as Pan.
If anything, Rumi's the straight one and then the other two are queer.
Yeah, yeah.
But also I feel like Rumi has some tendencies in herself as well. But
hmm
I don't know. I personally really like this one. I think it's adorable, actually.
Yeah. Bonus points if Celine doesn't know about it and they're actively like pissing on her grave, being like, "You can't stop us."
Hell yeah.
Which if we're putting an aside to that, Rumi X Juno, which is the canonical ship that actually happens in the movie, I see it, but I don't at the
Yeah.
same time. Again, I feel like maybe if we see more of him, if they find a way to bring him back in the sequel and they develop their actual like relationship more, then this could develop into like an actual good like straight ship that people will like.
Hmm.
Um
It's definitely an
Again, I
enemies to
think they're
lovers again, but I feel like
yeah.
it doesn't.
I think this is warranted. This is warranted of an enemies to lovers, though. I
Yeah.
feel like this is warranted where I'm like, no, this is well written enough that I can tolerate it being an enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
I
mean
feel like if they develop,
that movie has been all over the internet since it came
mhm,
out.
yeah,
So,
it's almost yeah. As of recording this, it's almost been a year since that movie came out. So
yeah.
it's still at the end of the day, this is still advertised as a kids movie. They're gonna bring him back. I don't
Yeah.
know how, but they're going to.
It's going to be this the memes all
Discord.
over TikTok and everywhere that he's a sentient sword now.
It'd be very funny. Very,
Yeah.
very funny.
Yeah.
Um, the last one in terms of headcanon ships that I previously mentioned is Steady, which is Steve and Eddie from Stranger Things. This one really took off. I remember on TikTok, everybody was freaking out about this one. Now, Steve is the only one that is presented to be straight, and Eddie has no love interest before he dies in season 4.
Yeah.
Um, but again, if people headcanon Steve as a bisexual man, which I kind of do, um, kind of do and kind of don't.
He
At the
he's
same time,
he's the mom
it's
friend
like, yeah,
as
he's the mom
as
friend, and we know
portrayed
that.
in a lot of fan art, which is really funny.
I love that. I love that so much. Um, but I can understand why people were into this. I see it, but I don't because Steve knows who Eddie is because Eddie's been held back by a couple of years. And by the time season 4 happens, Steve already graduated. He graduated like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So he knows who Eddie is. He was probably supposed to graduate with Eddie if he wasn't like held back. So obviously he knows who he is. But Steve, in the way he was portrayed in season 1, would not have given a shit about Eddie. He would have been a Jason or a Chrissy. He would have just been like, oh, that dude's a freak. But now that he's not that guy from season 1, and he's friends with the knockoff loser gang, aka, all kiddos, with Mike and Dustin and all them,
Mhm.
he's able to be like, well, I may not fully get it, but I support my non-children in their endeavors, so I'm
Exactly.
totally cool. But also, like, keep your eyes out, watch out for that guy. But, you know, again, I see it, but I don't. I don't hate it. I think a lot of the fan art is really cute, but again, Eddie was only in for 1 season, and even then, he didn't have a whole lot of screen time with to begin with. So it's like, you know, a little bit here.
In concept it's cool, but once again, it's one of the ones that doesn't entirely make sense.
Yeah. Again, some of the headcanons people have come up with in the fan art is cute. And again, I'm not gonna hate on it. Like absolutely not. But in the way that it's portrayed in the show, it's just like once again, it just feels like two conventionally attractive men just in a relationship because they're conventionally attractive.
Yeah.
Especially because for the majority of that series or that season, Steve actively hated Eddie up until like I don't know, midway through that season where they've like the portals started coming up, especially the lake scene where Steve like dives in first.
Yeah.
Up until that point onward, he actually starts to be amicable with Eddie, but not to the point of being like oh, that's my best dude. Like that's my best friend. Like no. It's
Yeah.
more just being it's more like divorced parents getting along because they share a child, and that child is Dustin.
Mhm.
Again, I don't hate it, but at the same time, I don't I think it would have worked better if Eddie maybe stayed around longer than the ones. Maybe it would have like done it a little bit better
Yeah.
in my opinion.
If he was a major character, maybe even from season 3, I feel like it would have been fine.
Yeah, because people definitely shipped Steve with Billy, which is I hate that. First of all, I already don't like Billy as a character. I like his actor. His actor's really good. Again, if you can get me to hate a character, that means you're good at acting.
Yeah.
So I don't hate his actor, and I'm sending no hate to him. But I do not like his character. I do not like Billy in the slightest. I was so happy when they killed him off in season 3 because I saw so many fics of Billy X like OCs and stuff like that on different websites being like, I can fix him. I'm like, you're gonna fix a racist, abusive asshole. Girl, have some standards for yourself. Just because he's hot doesn't mean you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Plus he has crushes on older women too, so that's kind of
oh yeah,
that's another weird thing.
trying to yeah, I don't know why. I get it. Ted Wheeler is not the greatest dad in the world, but like really, Karen, you were gonna go ahead and hook up with like a 17-year-old, 18-year
Yeah.
old? You're gonna do
Yeah.
that? Was that really worth it? No,
No.
never. It's never worth it. Speaking though on the Stranger Things train, we're going to quickly shift gears to the next subsection we have here, which is queerbaity ships. The If you were to quickly pull up the definition of queerbait right now, the simplest terms is basically dangling a relationship between two characters that were not explicitly queer, but it's basically a carrot on a stick of
Mhm.
being like, you want the gay, go fetch it. And doing that for multiple or the entirety of duration of a movie or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Like I remember people being like, "Oh my god, I wish like Rumi and Ginu got together for K-pop Demon Hunters." And every queer person was like, "Imagine every other piece of media, but it's a gay couple and it's the same fucking thing." Which like
Mhm.
fair. That's very fair. Um and one of these ships that people will debate on end whether if it's queer baiting or not is Byler, which again, keeping with Stranger Things, is Will and Mike from Stranger Things. I am gonna be for real honest. I vaguely knew this ship existed, but I never really did anything with it. It wasn't I barely knew this existed. This wasn't until season 4 where Will had that like big speech of that drawing that he made. And he's like, "Mike, you're the heart of the group. You know, you're the one that pulls everyone together."
You're the
And then it
glue.
just cuts to him about to cry while he has his hand like on the window, basically looking off crying. That was the moment that I'm like, "Oh, Will is so gay."
Mhm.
That did not come across like at all. But also as a straight woman, I'm over here being like, unless stated otherwise, it flies over my head. So I'm not really necessarily the one that picks up on this.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were like, it was queer baiting with this because they set it up. And then other people were like, no, it's not. What are you talking about? I am not at liberty to say whether this is queer bait because not only have I not seen season 5, at least not yet, I will do it on my own time, but also I'm also not LGBT. I can't fully say whether it is or not, but
Mhm.
DY, as someone who is a part of that, your stance on it, or what's your like dissection of, I guess, because
Uh
you have more life experience with this than I do.
yeah. Personally, I believe it is more of a one-sided relationship rather than queer baiting because
Mhm,
there have been in tons of media where a certain character likes someone, yet the other person absolutely shows no reciprocation. Um, it's a really common trope. I can probably think of multiple at the moment.
mhm,
Um,
yeah.
but having had experiences similar in my life, I feel that it's only a one-sided relationship with obviously Will having a crush on Mike and then not having the guts to tell him until, well, he never actually kind of did, but he ended
Yeah.
up coming out to everyone in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
It was portrayed as, oh, we might actually die here. I'm gonna do this. Um,
Yeah.
but personally, one-sided relationship. I
That's yeah. That's
never like I never saw it until that season 4 episode.
mhm,
But like now that it's out there, I feel like you can go back and look and some of it's there, but I
mhm.
wouldn't say it's been a thing the whole time.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. The way that I saw it once people brought it up and I noticed again that season 4 episode, I was like, this feels like a one-sided thing because the entire show, Mike has always been about 11. He's always had a thing for Elle. I even saw some people be like, "Oh, Mike secretly had a thing for Will when he left and he first saw 11 when she had a shaved head." And I'm like, "Guys, are we pushing that a little bit too much
We're
or is
reaching.
it like are we reaching here?" Um he's always had a thing for 11 even with the shaved head. Like Mike has always had a thing for for 11. And even then, his parents in one shot, I don't remember where it was or what season it was, but they had a sign saying they would vote for Ronald Reagan, which given the climate of the 80s is not good. So you mean to tell me that that a kid like Mike whose parents supported Reagan would have like sensed any sort of like one-sided thing with Will, let alone had a thing for Will.
No.
I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm also like I don't think I
Mm,
don't mm,
not entirely.
yeah.
They might have had some inkling, but it definitely wasn't prominent.
People were pissed because it didn't happen, but also people were just pissed on that season in general. It was just another like cherry on top of people
Mm-hmm.
being, you know, it
Yeah.
was just another added extra thing. In contrast to, I would make an argument, is the quintessential textbook dictionary definition of queer baiting, Destiel, aka Dean Winchester and Castiel from the CW show Supernatural, which I've previously mentioned. I love the show. I really do. I've watched all 15 seasons. I'll never be able to take that life back, but that's okay. It's here. We're not getting rid of it. I again, I knew about the ship prior to watching the show. I knew about the jokes, and I proceeded to make those same jokes. But as I continued to watch the show, I was this is clearly like I felt more and more reason as to why the fans shipped it, and then I slowly started to ship it. And so I was like, yeah. The thing with Supernatural is that depending on who's writing an episode, Dean will either regress in his character development or progress in his character development, depending on who's writing him. Dean was a womanizer. He was saying most out of pocket shit I have ever seen. Granted, again, 2000, but still, at his ripe age of 26, that's not great at the start of the show. Obviously, they started to age him out of it because Jensen was also aging out. He was like, he's around Dean's age. Having him say all this and not have any like reasonable character development does not look good for your one of your main male leads. Just we got to fix that, and luckily they did. By season 3, they fixed it, but they enhanced it with the introduction of Cass in season 4. Cass is such a like loved, like beloved fan favorite character. They tried to kill him off multiple, but the ratings kept tanking because they tried to kill him off. So they're like, okay, we can't do that. He's here to stay, which is very funny, and I love that. Good job, fandom, for that.
Slay.
um, play, but once again, it's the trope of overly flirtatious man clearly being a player and is hitting on every single like 18 plus woman that walks his street. People headcanning him as bisexual to the point like the ship was so well known to the writers in the 200th episode because the show went on for 300 plus, by the way, for
Mm-hmm.
comparison.
Which is
15
crazy.
seasons. 15 seasons for 15 years. Yeah, crazy. Um in the 200th episode, it's a very like there's nothing like plot wise that happens in the episode. It's like a monster of the week, as is most episodes. That's not catered to the overall season of the plot. But the plot for the 200th episode is Sam and Dean go to an all girls school because there's like a monster there that they gotta kill. And the play that the girls are putting on is supernatural because, and this is very convoluted, it's a very meta thing. In the show, Supernatural, the lives that Sam and Dean live that we see on screen in universe was turned into a book series up until season 5. So season 5 in universe is where the book series also named Supernatural stops, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the this all girls school is making a play that they wrote themselves about these books that are canonical in the universe that from seasons 1 through 5 canonically happened that like the way that the books in the show are written about the events is how they're portrayed on screen essentially. Like if you were you know how people have like the novelization stuff like that, that's essentially what this is. But in universe. It's very convoluted, it's very meta, it's very funny. Um but yeah, they lampshade, they make jokes about it. It's very funny. There's literally a joke in the episode where the director, a student director, because obviously Dean and Sam are questioning all the girls and being like, "Hey, what's like what happened to I think it was like a teacher or something. I don't remember the specifics on like who died or whatever." But Dean's talking to the student director and he's like, "Hey, what are those two doing?" And it's the actor who's playing Dean and the actor who's playing Cass in the play. And the student director goes, "Oh, that's so and so. They're playing characters, but they're also the actors themselves are like in a lesbian relationship." And he's like, "Wait." And he's like, "That never happened. All the thing that's going on here that never happened." And the student director is like, "Oh, but it's all subtext. But you can't spell subtext without sex." And then Jensen just proceeds to look directly at the camera, being like, "Yeah, we just did that, and I hate you for it." It's a very funny moment. They play it off for laughs. It's not meant to be taken seriously, but it's very funny. But you mean to tell me that the show acknowledges that because there's basically a novelization of Sam and Dean's life up until a point is available for purchase in the canonical world of Supernatural. And this all girl school is making a play about these books and they lampshade it and yet they don't make it canon.
That's hilarious.
And they don't make that is next level of carrot dangling on a stick I've ever fucking seen and it's not even close.
Yeah.
It is not even close. I Anybody who's watched the show has been traumatized by the final season. Not the final season as a whole was bad. The final like last batch of episodes was bad. If you thought people were shitting on like the finale for Stranger Things or like Game of Thrones, the level of magnitude I felt on that day that the episode it premiered, I have never felt the same way since, and I'm forever pissed at it. The last like few like 3 episodes of that show pissed me off so fucking much. I don't have time to get into it, but they essentially, without giving away in case you for yourself, but essentially they do the bury your gays trope, where Cass basically admits his love for Dean and then is promptly killed off, never to be seen again.
Oh boy.
It is bad. in hindsight, the portrayal of that scene is very funny given the memes and stuff like that that came up with it. And I still love those memes. They're very funny. And Misha Collins, who played Cass, he's come on record on Twitter and stuff like that saying that Cass is canonically gay, and he did confess his love to Dean. Which I love. I love the fact that Misha accepting of it. He always has been. He's always been very LGBTQ supportive. Um, but the fact that he, like, after the show ended, he was like, I don't want the discourse anymore. Cass is gay. I'm the guy who plays him. That's my final stance. I don't care what writers say. And I love that. I love that so much. It's made such an impact that Destiel is the reason why AO3 exists. It's a long story. We don't have time to talk about it. But essentially, Destiel is the reason why like AO3, a very popular fanfiction website, exists. And Misha's in full support of it. Jensen is kind of uncomfortable with people asking him constantly, which is fair. The show ended 6 years ago as of recording this. So it makes sense that he's like, can I get asked literally any other question, please? So I get where he's coming from there. But I'm still forever pissed on how that is. So if you thought that Byler shippers were pissed and how they're debating of queer baiting, if you want a definition of queer baiting, it's Destiel. And I don't think Byler was, or at least wasn't intentionally, because queer baiting is intentional. Queer
Yeah.
baiting is intentionally having that and putting it on a carrot on a stick. I agree with you. I think Byler is maybe a one-sided crush, and people maybe took it as queer baiting.
Mm-hmm.
Having a lot of, because again, this movie, the Stranger Things, takes place in the 80s. Like, yes, Steve and presumably the rest of the kids were okay with, or at least Steve was okay with Robin coming out as a lesbian. But that doesn't mean the other characters would be okay with Will coming out as gay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
most of the characters still didn't even know that Robin was gay. I don't think. Like, I think it was just Steve and maybe a handful of others, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just Steve.
Yeah. And she took a risk with that. So if Robin isn't feeling comfortable with announcing she's a lesbian to everybody else, then like again, this is still the 80s. A lot, a lot of good things happen, but also a lot of stigma and stuff like that. This is still the 80s. Guys, this is still like semi time period accurate.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they're like keeping it more
On the down
closed
low.
off, I guess. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Turning over though, before I get too mad, I'm gonna get mad in a different way because we're talking about ships that I and DY personally do not like
Or
for one
shouldn't
reason or another,
exist.
or straight up shouldn't exist. There's generally
We
no
don't
rule when
we're
it comes
not
to
hate we're
shipping.
not hating on them. You guys are allowed to ship these, but personally we don't enjoy them.
Yeah. There's only one exception to one of them we have on this list. And if that's the case, you guys are free. There's generally there's no bounds when it comes to shipping. You can basically do anything with anyone, right? However, there is some more taboo things that people generally don't gravitate towards, which is if a character is a child, you are shipping it with another child. Or if they're both children and you're writing fanfiction, age them up to be 18. So that way, if you're going to make NSFW about it, at least they're over 18. Number
Yes.
two, you're not doing parent X child or an adult X child of any variety of any version of that. That's also number three, siblings in any way, shape, or form. Stop that. Stop that. I hate it.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt if it's a platonic relationship, sure. But if it's where they're actually like in love with each other in a romantic way, then no.
I'm also including step siblings and or adopted siblings in this as well. I know they're not technically sex, but I'm still gonna put an Iwi on it. Don't do that.
And don't go
At
all
least for us.
Alabama. Don't go all
Yeah, we
Alabama
ain't.
with cousins.
Yeah, we don't want to. We don't want to do that. We don't necessarily want that. Um, I think that's about mostly it. It's mostly if it's not illegal, we don't care. But if it is illegal, you're a freak. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Hmm.
One of these ships is more just personal preference for the both of us. Is Drary, aka Draco Malfoy and Harry Potter from Harry Potter. I do not like the ship. This is the bad enemies to lovers I was talking about that people constantly like. No, they're not. By the way, because we're talking about Harry Potter, trans rights are human rights, and we do. This is one of the prolific ships on AO3, so we unfortunately do have to talk about it. But I just don't like Draco as a character. I know he had his redemption arc. I don't think it was done well in either the books or the movies.
This
I think
man
the only reason why
actively
it's
went out of his way to kill Harry multiple times, make fun of him. Like, this is not a romantic relationship in any shape or form.
he, he also called Hermione essentially a slur
Yeah,
in book 2 in Chamber of Secrets. I'm
yeah.
like, you can't go back from that. Also, the fact that people also ship Draco with Hermione, also no. She's too good for him. Why? She's
She
too good for him.
she doesn't even need Ron, really. She could just be herself.
Yeah. Yeah. But like I get it. You guys want your rivals or your enemies to lovers. This is too far into enemies to lovers.
This is
Like you
essentially a
like
one-sided abusive relationship
yeah, this
where
is like
the
not
where the husband beats the wife.
yeah. Like I'm sorry guys. You can do your doomed yaoi all you want, but when it comes there's a difference between doomed and just straight up toxic. And
Hmm.
this is an example of that. Um next, which is another crack shipping in the same vein as Bloody Mary, where it's two different characters from two different films. This has history though. We're doing Jelsa, aka Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians, 2012, made by DreamWorks, and Elsa from Frozen. The only reason why the ship exists is because they both have ice powers. Look, I did not ship this. I'm gonna say this right now. I knew of this thing's existence, and this is probably another instance of what shipping was with other fandoms and other pieces of media, and that it can be a thing. The only reason why the ship exists is because they both have ice powers. That's literally all it is. There's nothing else to it. It's just because they both have ice powers. But yeah, I like the creativity that came with it at the time, feeling they're creative for some movie characters that they liked. And I'm not gonna fault them for that, but there's nobody who I like unironically in 2026 ships this, and I'm being for real honest here.
Yeah.
Like maybe back in the 2010s, probably, because again, we were all children, but at this point, no. This is
It
like,
was just for fun.
yeah, this is just, it just so happens that within a year apart, two different rival animation companies had characters that had ice powers.
Hmm.
Next is Zutara, Zuko and Katara from Avatar: The Last Air. I have seen Avatar. I've seen the full show. I've seen it only once, but I do love it. I love the show and I love all the characters. And I do like Zuko as a character. I do not see him with Katara. This is
No.
just fire water, like again, enemies to lovers, opposites attract. I just don't see it. To be fair, I also don't see him with Mai, like when they dated for that small period of time in the show. I also don't see it either. I was just like, this feels weird. This is not something Zuko would do and would like continue. And I was right. They ended up not staying together by the time Korra happened. But it just to me it doesn't make sense. I know people were like, "Oh, with Aang is a little bit for they're 12.
Yeah.
They're 12. Live a little and have the kids have whims." Okay? They just had a war. They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Exactly.
I also
And
just and again, like
Katara actively showed interest in Aang.
yeah. Yeah.
And Jet, but Jet is unfortunately dead, but
Yeah. And again,
I never really shipped that
Zuko
either though.
I didn't either. No, he always felt kind of slimy to me a little bit. Zuko is a good example of what Draco's redemption should have been, but done right. because you actually see his growth throughout the whole series, and it's a major point of him going to Team Aang. Next is another Steven Universe one, Pearl Amethyst, Pearl and Amethyst.
Yeah. And I can go into this one because I am the one that put this on. Um, Personally, I do not like this ship because with Pearl being obsessed and basically forced to love Rose, aka Pink Diamond, it feels wrong that she would go for another quartz person, which is what Amethyst is. Um, so personally, I think it's demeaning to Pearl in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just personally think their personalities don't mesh well. Like, yeah, Amethyst is more carefree and is more willing to be reckless, but Pearl's not like that. She's a very stickler for the rules kind of character. She's
Yeah.
very like poised and prim, but and Amethyst isn't like that. And I feel like in some aspects that dynamic works. I just don't think it works with these characters in that way. This is where shipping can become very dangerous if not monitored, like pulled the reins back a little bit. And that is with real life shipping. This is the concept of shipping real life people. This is the equivalent of shipping your best friends together when they have no interest in dating each other. This is the equivalent of that. And unfortunately is still very prevalent. Again, it's a very touchy subject. I think as long as it's done with grace, it's all in good fun, especially when it comes to celebrities who do not know who you are. But at the same time, if the ship gets big enough, it'll eventually go to those people who are in that ship and it can affect their relationship. AKA Larry Styleson, aka Harry Styles and Louis Tomlinson of One Direction. Back in their peak when they were actually like in One Direction, and as a directioner or a former directioner, I can say this ship was fucking everywhere. This ship got so popular, it actively fizzled out and broke off any friendship Louis and Harry actually had. And that is really depressing and really sad. That's the point of going too far.
Yeah.
Like, you can go ahead and make all your funny jokes and your fanfics, very haha funny, but at the end of the day, these are still real people and they deserve their own privacy. Um, Septiplier, aka Markiplier and Jacksepticeye, that's another one that was shipped, even though they both had their own girlfriends. That also made them kind of drift apart. They've rekindled since. They're still good friends nowadays, but at the time they had to like distance themselves because these men had real partners in their own relationships. That's to the point where I'm like, let's not, let's leave that. Let's leave them out of this. Yeah. But lastly, though, back to the Ewe ships, and I mean Ewe as in you are sick fucks for thinking this. Wincest, aka Sam Winchester, Dean Winchester,
No.
the siblings, the canonical Winchester brothers.
This also goes for
They made,
Fawncest and Pinecest.
yes, this goes for any canonical like siblings like that. This is basically incest. The name of the ship is a play on words of that.
Yeah.
Like, guys,
It's not okay.
like, it's no, that's illegal. That's genuinely illegal in like most of the world. And the Winchesters found out about the in-universe books about their lives that I previously talked about with the 200th episode with Destiel. Dean was looking it up and he's like, what's a slash fan? As in Sam slash Dean together.
Mm.
Like together? Yeah. And he had a look of absolute disgust. But again, if they're poking fun at it and clearly like this is not okay, then it's not okay. It's not great. I hate it. Anything that's of similar value needs to stop existing, please. We're on the home stretch. We're actual canonical ships. Ships that were portrayed in actual media that the showrunners plan to have, and one of which is Lumity, aka Luz and Amity from the Owl. I've never watched this show. I need to, and I know that. But very famously, Disney pulled the plug on this show after Luz and Amity got together, very famously, and Dana Terrence, the show creator, had 3 episodes to wrap it up, as opposed to Steven Universe that had 5. So Disney was even more ruthless than Cartoon Network. But from the clips I have seen of them together, they're very cute.
Yes.
And I'm very happy that that Dana stuck to her guns and is like, no, I want this and I want a positive
D-
outlook on
Dana
it.
even came out and was like, I don't fucking care. Pirate the show. Fuck Disney.
Yeah, and you know what? Slay. We love that for her. We love that. Um, next is Anna Hart, aka Anna and Reinhardt from Overwatch. This has been a ship that's been lingering in the background for as long as Overwatch was around. It only was until recently with the webtoon comic that they've officially gotten together.
Yes.
I think this is really cute.
I love it.
I I love it. There's so many voice lines that they have because they both work for Overwatch or previously worked for Overwatch that just support this, you know?
Hmm.
So I don't know. I love it. I don't know if it's ever gonna make it into the game because we still have no canonical ships within the actual like game itself. It's all like in extra stuff. It's in like comics or things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's gonna transfer over to that and they're gonna have like voice lines, but I would like to hope so. But next is Harley Quinn and Ivy, Poison Ivy from DC. Once again,
This
this
is
is
it's I'm
again, this
pretty
is
sure it's
like
been in the comics
yeah,
as a cuz
yeah.
we I Harley Quinn is canonically bisexual,
Yeah.
and I think Ivy is too actually. But we're going this is more so with the animated Harley Quinn TV show that this
Mhm.
exists.
Yeah.
Um but as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure it's been canon in the comics.
I wanna say
And
so
then
as well, at least in, like, recent years. Yeah.
obviously with the TV show, that's their whole relationship.
Mhm.
Which personally I love it cuz
I do too, yeah.
she leaves her toxic ex, the Joker, and goes with Ivy, and I think it's just really cute.
Next, keeping on with the animation, is Kat Todora, aka, from She-Ra. I have never seen She-Ra, so this is more on your take. So go ahead and, preach to the skies about the lesbians.
It's an enemies to lovers, but it actually works really well. Well, friends to enemies to lovers. Uh, it it works really well. Basically, Katra and Adora were friends on this like under I forget it's been a hot minute since I've seen this show, but they were under Hordak, which was an evil guy. They were both part of this regime, I guess, is what I'm gonna say. And eventually, Adora ends up leaving for whatever reason. I think she was on a mission, if I remember correctly, and she ended up finding a sword. Or yeah, she found a sword, and it turns out that she's um a mystical giant woman, which is funny. And basically, Katra finds out. Well, Adora joins what the Alliance, which is known as the Princesses, and they are basically an alliance against Hordak's regime. And Dora ends up being with them because technically she's a princess as well, having the sword. And Catra finds out and she gets pissed off, and her whole ordeal is to basically stop Shira. But it became canon in the last season when Catra herself actually um, left the regime as well and ended up joining the princesses as well to fight against the evil people. But it was always hinted at during the entire show that maybe there was something there.
Hmm. That I think, in the way that you're describing it, is a good enemies to lovers I can get behind because there's more substance to it. It's
Hmm.
not just boo, I hate you, but I actually love you. No, there's actual weight to it.
Yeah,
Next is Bubbleine, aka Princess Bubblegum and Marceline from Adventure Time. I never got into Adventure Time when it was on the air. I do not know why. Do not ask me. Um, I do remember people talking about the ship when it was on the air. Um, the one thing that clued me in for this was Marceline's song, if you know which one I'm
just your
talking
problem.
about. Yeah, that one. That was the one where I'm just like, it could be anybody, but also she was never really seen with anybody else. So you could only infer with what she's talking about. And then of course, very famously, they kissed in the final, I think it's the final episode um of the show after 10 years or so. And the creators were like, we wanted this so long, but we couldn't because our show would get canceled, so we're doing it now. So they physically can't tell us anything, which is a very Cartoon Network Nickelodeon thing to do.
Yes, it's great.
Of we want it to happen, but we physically can't, so we're gonna do it at the last minute. Again, I've not seen the show, but I do know they're dynamic, and I think their dynamic works very well. This also, but I remember that kiss, and even though I had never watched the show, I was so fucking happy that that kiss
Absolutely.
happened. Like, like I'd seen so many people talk about it, and I was like again, but I was so fucking happy. I was so happy about it.
Yeah.
Um, and speaking of finally it happened, Garnet. Now you're probably wondering, is that the no? That's of Steven Universe. Garnet is essentially the fusion of Ruby and Sapphire, which in and of itself makes Garnet, who's a whole. Don't worry about the specifics of it. Don't worry about
People,
it.
some people call it Rubifire, but it's essentially just Garnet
It's just Garnet. As
because
I
Garnet is
previously
Garnet.
mentioned, yeah, yeah. As previously mentioned with the Lumity, a little bit earlier, very famously, Rebecca Sugar wanted a marriage scene between Ruby and Sapphire, but Cartoon Network was like, you either get that gay marriage scene or cut the show entirely. And Rebecca stuck to her guns, and I'm really happy she did. And then, very funnily enough, 10 months later, Cartoon Network was like, "Get Rebecca, can you please come back? We need your money." So yeah,
Yeah.
very funny. It's
And
how that
actually,
ended up.
funnily enough, one of the homophobic countries, Russia, in the show, it's canonically um, censored in the show. So during the Gem War, there was probably a battle or something where Russia currently was. But if you look at there's a single shot and a single episode where Russia just isn't there. So Rebecca Sugar had her own laughs.
Fucking love that. Love that. But yeah, we're bringing this one up specifically because Cartoon Network on their social media was posting a lot of their queer couples online. But as many people on TikTok have pointed out, how dare you put Ruby and Sapphire when you canceled the show because they got married?
I mean, if
Like,
we're
how
being
fucking.
honest, the people that run those aren't the executives, but so we can't really fault the social media teams, but in a way, yes, it's not
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Next is Apple Dash, aka Applejack and Rainbow Dash from My Little Pony, but specifically Friendship is Magic. There's a lot of ships when it comes to MLP. There's a lot of them. We can't talk about all of them. We'll probably do its own episode when we'll do our own MLP episode because that's a guarantee we're doing.
Yeah.
But this is probably the most popular one. I would say this and like one other one is probably famous and most popular. But this is the one that was, for lack of spoilers, because they don't actually say it, but they do, but they don't. This is the only one that was like semi confirmed to be a thing, but like not really. These are ponies slash people that match each other's freak. This is like rivals, but like friendly rivals to lovers, which
Yeah.
is different. Applejack's element of harmony is honesty, and Rainbow Dash's is loyalty. Very famously, people wanted them to swap. So Rainbow Dash would get honesty, and then loyalty would be Applejack. But either way, whichever way you slice it, these these two ladies are essentially the same thing, but in slightly different fonts.
Mm-hmm.
They share a lot of similar traits. They're able to compete with each other in fair ways. And again, they just match each other's freak. Next, I cannot believe we have to talk about this. This is so fucking stupid. Adrian and Marinette from Miraculous Ladybug. No, I'm not fucking Square. Whatever's got going on there. This is a ship that I do have knowledge of. I caught up with Miraculous, so I don't know the ins and outs, but DY does. This ship, in all of its variants, are so, again, in hindsight, it's cute. It's a very cute dynamic. I hate the dynamic of the different variants of this exact same fucking ship. It is so stupid. I don't know why the writers consist on doing it or why it lasted for that long. It should not have fucking existed.
They didn't
In the
though.
slightest. Oh my
The writers
god.
did not have anything like they didn't do anything with this at all. The only canonical technically was Lady Noir and Adrianette. Those are the only
Yeah.
canonical ones that the other two, Ladrian and Mary Chat, are just crack ships.
The fact that this love square even had to exist in the first place, because you can make an argument for lady chat or like the superhero versions. You can make an argument that like they're in their costumes and they're putting on an extra persona because obviously they can't share their identities and their dynamic is different than when they're not powered up. So you can make the argument there, but it's still the same fucking person. It's still the same person. Like, I can't justify it being two different things because it's still the same fucking person or the same
So
people in that
th-
ship.
this is just a come. This is relevant. Um, how come those two can't know each other yet? They can confide in other people.
That's my thing. Like,
Every
that's
well,
like the other
every
extra
time they
thing.
do, the world ends. So
Oh my god. We're gonna do Korrasami, aka Korra and Sami from Legend of Korra. I have not seen Korra, but I do know that Korra was confirmed bisexual for like the longest of times. But I did not know how their relationship formed. In very Nickelodeon kids fashion, they kissed at the very end of the show, and then that was the end.
yeah.
That was like their confirmation. But go ahead, speak to the peoples on this ship.
Um. Well, it started out. Mako and Asami were together, and then they broke up. And then Korra realized she kind of had a thing for Mako, but that didn't really work out. And so Asami stole his woman, basically. And I love
Yeah,
that.
girly pop got jealous. She got jealous. She got jealous. Um, yeah, like I have not watched Korra yet, so I can't say on it, but I mean, yay, go lesbians. The lesbians stay winning.
Lesbians.
They stay winning.
And
Lastly, this is the last one we're going to talk about. This one I once again have personal stakes in. But this is the asterisk I was talking about when it comes to being cautious with shipping, and that is Dan and Phil. Real life YouTubers, Dan Howell and Phil Lester.
Once again, she's talking
I
about Dan and Phil.
I love my gay dads. What can I say? But their story is very long and convoluted. They made a whole video. Go ahead and watch it if you want the whole explanation. But essentially, Dan at 18 was watching Phil because Phil was posting videos on his YouTube channel at this point. Dan had the hots for him, and basically they were emailing back and forth, whatever. They eventually met in person, and then it basically blossomed from there. Their very first interaction ever recorded on camera was Phil is Not on Fire, which was a series they did for around 10 years where they basically answered people's questions and doing like random, like lol random stuff. At the end of that video, Dan says something along the lines of this was like the most fun I've ever had. And mind you, this is the first time they've ever met up. Later,
That's
like
crazy.
earlier that day, they met for the first time. And then Phil like kind of like tackles him to the ground, and then the video ends. He just tackles him. There's no like kissing or anything involved. But from that point on, the internet basically speculated on their relationship for 16 plus years. And obviously, they talk about it in the video, but it was a massive invasion of privacy. And Dan has talked about previously that he was very insecure with his sexuality, was very like apprehensive when it comes to sharing their relationship online, especially with the speculation at the time in like Tumblr. Bill was more okay with it, but obviously he wanted to keep Dan comfortable more than anything.
Yeah.
But like this basically Fan, which is their ship name by the way, which I guess is like their power couple name now, I guess. And the same thing as like Bradgelina and shit like that. But it was basically an open secret that they were together because they lived in multiple apartments together, and most people were like, oh, they just make a lot of videos together, that's whatever. But then when they bought their own house, the Faust as they like to call it, PH by the way, that's when everyone was like, okay, that basically soft launches your hard launch, which they would later hard launch in October or 2025. They have a whole video dedicating to it, and Dan and Phil have their own coming out video on their channels on what it was like and their stories. So feel free to watch them if you want more information. But yeah, that is the end of our list. Obviously, shipping can be fun, and it's a great way to express love for some of your favorite characters. That being said, you do still have to proceed with caution when it comes to this. Don't have fan wars as to which ship is better. They're pixels on a screen. Who fucking cares? Second of
Yeah.
all, if they're played by real people or real people are involved, proceed with caution or do not interact with it at all. Because I guarantee you, the actors, some of them, at least the older actors, will probably look at you weird, will like they'll
Sometimes
be
it's
a
good to
little
just keep it to yourself. Most of the time.
yeah. Yeah. Keep it contained. Keep it with the other fans, have fun with them. Sometimes the actors or the producers or the writers or whatever don't need to be involved. If they, excuse me, if they are though, that makes it all the more fun. That means we can all get in on it.
Yeah.
That's great. But unless the creatives or the people working on that project say otherwise, keep it contained, keep it civil, and just have fun. It is not that serious.
Don't make it weird.
Just don't make it weird. Fandom is all about having fun, and shipping and fanfiction and all that is all about fun. Again, we've seen the consequences when it comes to these ships, both real and not real. So just, you know, don't be weird, proceed with caution, and do not take it too seriously.
Yes.
That being said, though, that is the end of our time here on this episode of this very podcast.
Yes.
Uh,
Follow us everywhere on all of our socials and You can follow me and Luna separately as well. But yes, thank you for watching, and until next time, this has been Dysfunctional.